Well, good morning, everyone. This is Sandi Craig, and you are with us this morning on Let Us Reason Together. So glad to be with you all today. I am your second day of the week host for this program, and it's based on Isaiah 118. Come now and let us reason together, says Yahweh. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. And this is where we sit down and reason out current events. And I think if we've got current events going on, yes, that's what all I'm going to say about that. Cultural shifts. Yes. And of course, this week's Torah portion, we can either push back or push through. Nevertheless, if iron does not sharpen iron, sparks will never fly, let alone ever get a fire going. And without a little heat and a good midrash, how will our hearts ever get soft and moldable enough to be transformed in the way that the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, wants us to be? So, and we're going to have a little fun along the way. But before we get to the fun, let me give you today's date. It is Monday, January 18th of the year 2021. It is the 5th day of, yes, the 10th month, the month of Shabbat, in the Hebrew year 5781. And time is flying by. Verse of today, taken from the Torah portion, Jeremiah 46, 27, 28. But as for you, O Jacob, O my servant, do not fear, nor be dismayed, O Israel. For see, I am going to save you from afar, and your descendants from the land of their captivity. And Jacob will return to be undisturbed and secure, and no one making him tremble. O Jacob, my servant, do not fear, declares Yahweh, for I am with you, for I will make a full end of all the nations where I have driven you. Yet I will not make a full end of you, but I will correct you properly and by no means leave you unpunished. So there you go. Verses for today. I hope that you can draw some encouragement from that, because Yahweh has a plan and it's bigger than our own. I'll just have to say that. Let's move on. I want to bring in my special co-host today, and because I like to hear their responses and reactions for those things that have caused our mind to be twisted up and everything. Well, let's untwist our minds, let them roam free, and laugh a little. I'll hopefully laugh a little bit. I laughed when I put it together, so hopefully it'll be good for you as well. So first off, I want to bring in Mr. Praying for the Handbasket, Mark David Smith.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring your wife in.
Well, my wife has stepped away from the microphone.
Oh.
So unless
we can see that, but usually
we got to catch that, that
Heart.
Distant voice. Maybe
Heart.
Catch that. Yeah.
Heart.
So she'll be back. Yeah. And we also have Eddie and Tammy. Good morning, Eddie and Tammy.
Yay.
It's good to have you guys back with us today. Okay. All right. We got a little vision game going on there. And then here she comes.
I don't have another block to click.
Miss, let us reason together.
Miss Sandi
There we
Craig.
go.
Doesn't she look beautiful today?
Actually,
on both of us today, Sandy.
I'm looking at the sun is shining. Do you guys see that beam of light that's across me right now?
You're in the light.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
We're talking about the light. Okay, guys, here we go. All right. These are those headlines from around the world. Headlines you will not hear from anywhere else. Okay. All right. So I don't mean to be morbid by this. I just want us to sit back and go, First headline. Dead man remains dead.
How profound.
headline.
Goodness, no zombies here. All right. So that's actually from the Associated Press out of the city of Industry, California.
Why would they even say that?
I don't know.
You didn't read the article, just the headline.
I just
right?
read the headline. All right. But keeping that topic in mind, not to be morbid, how about this? Death is nation's top killer.
That's dumb. Really? What newspaper would publish that?
Sure. But I will read a little bit of the article. It says both your front page story on November 10 Study shows tobacco is nation's biggest killer, and the study in which its reports are permeated by a fallacy that is becoming part of the fabric of American thinking. Death is not, under any circumstances whatsoever, preventable. It does say it's only delayable, but I just thought I'd cut it off right there.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. Any thoughts about that?
Somebody wasted space in the newspaper for that. That's all I got to say.
Well,
I read the word, because the word says it's appointed unto man once to die.
yeah.
So therefore, they finally read the Bible.
Right. There you go. Well,
Unless you're Shirley MacLaine.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God have mercy.
Well, doesn't it actually say, isn't that parenthetically in the Bible? It says it wants to die parenthetically, except unless you're Shirley MacLaine. It's actually in some of the newer text, the New World text in the Bible. So,
That's right. That's right, Mark. That's right. Don't add or take away. Just change it.
just be careful which Bible you buy.
Yeah, that's
True.
That's the MKJ version.
Good morning, Beryl and Zombar.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to have y'all. Okay, here's the next one. This one, keeping with the same theme, not to be morbid or
Okay,
anything.
don't say those words again, please. I don't want to hear those again, or I'm walking off.
All
right.
Not to be morbid.
All right. Breathing oxygen linked to staying alive.
Bee Gees. Stay. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, it might be well, it may not be old news. I mean, it may not be new news, but it's still true, so, it's not fake news,
No.
I mean, so you really just discard it, so.
I just want to know what drug these people that are writing these articles have been on. I'm telling you.
We're telling you the truth here on Let Us Reason Together. Okay, here's the next one. You may be at risk for throat cancer if you have a throat or mouth.
A profound revelation.
Yeah.
You could literally title these headlines as headlines, profound revelation, or profound revelation headlines.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess if you have I won't talk about IQ. Okay. So I was going to say, if you got an IQ over 50, you probably understand these. So, all right, going on. And then talking about body parts. Here, this is a little unrelated to the above theme, which I won't say, but I couldn't resist. Cop makes arrest in bathroom after smelling crack.
Well,
you're not going to hear these headlines from anywhere else.
my thought on that, first of all, would be, is the cop of his right mind? Because once you start smelling crack, then really your senses have now been skewed. So I would say it would be a bad arrest because the cop was actually impaired when he made the arrest. So if you want to take it to court, if I was the person in the bathroom and I went to court, I would say, I'm sorry, but that cop was impaired.
I can tell you my husband's taking it a different way because I've heard him use this phrase before. We had some people that did some things at our congregation and they're not there anymore, but he would come along and say, oh, this is so crude. I don't want to say it.
What? Like, don't do crack?
No, you said, I smell when I'm around them. I smell
Crack.
But not crack the drug.
Yeah.
But
You're right. It's crude, but we all know John.
And he would say that. And that's where his mind went. I can tell you right now, that's exactly where it went. It wasn't the drug. It was the other one.
I know nothing.
Yeah, I am right, Mr. Craig. You know I am.
And you only hear it here on the Lamb Network.
That's right. Okay, now that we've untwisted our minds, or
No, untwisted your mind. I told everybody what you were
everybody
thinking.
else's mind got twisted up. All right, moving right along. Let's talk about some weird and quirky shower thoughts. Those things that come to your mind as you soak under that warm shower water, and you're just, getting ready for your next stage of your day. All right. So weird and quirky shower thoughts for today. iPhone chargers should be called apple juice.
That's cute. That's cute.
All right. How about this for all who post on social media, considering the prior theme? Your tombstone's epitaph is like your final status update.
But this would be the epitaph of millennials.
There you go. All right. And how about this one? The person who would proofread Hitler's speeches was a grammar Nazi.
What we have to put up with. I'm telling you.
I ran into a mask Nazi yesterday at the store.
You did?
Yeah.
I don't like mask Nazis.
When I went in the store, she says, "Ma'am, you have to wear a mask if you're going to be in this store." And I'm like, okay. And she said, "Well, I have one if you need one." So I took it and I just held on to it till I got in line to check out from her.
Just wear it around your arm. See, I'm wearing it.
Yep, that's
There you
right.
go.
That's what I
Doesn't
do.
say
I
wear it,
usually
how
wear it
wear
on
it,
my
right?
wrist.
Yeah. All right. One last
Well,
one.
you could put it over your eyes and start bumping into things.
You told me to wear a mask.
That'll teach him. That'll teach him. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to buy here, but I got my mask on. Yeah.
Sorry about the mess, guys. Okay. All right. One last shower thought of the day. Then we're going to have to retwist our minds. Okay. Think about this. This one you're going to have to think about. The word fat, F-A-T, just looks like someone took a bite out of the first letter of the word eat, E-A-T.
Say that again. I really didn't catch it.
So the word fat, F-A-T, think about the letters. Okay. Just looks like someone took a bite out of the first letter of the word eat.
I disagree.
The lower
Okay.
That.
That one was more like an okay.
Okay. So, all right. Do I need to explain it?
I get it, but it wouldn't.
Okay.
It
All right.
was
We all
not.
think it was a dud.
Is it done?
It wasn't as quality as your other ones. Let's put it that way.
All right.
Let's go
Sorry,
back
I
to
left it with the
crack
dud. I
one.
should have ended up with the crack.
Oh, you cracked me up, John. You cracked me up.
There we go. What I
Okay.
have to put up with just to be on a show on the Lamb Network.
Oh, man.
Well, all right, guys. I think it's time for our first segment on the news.
Sí, señor. Es muy gudo. You guys didn't know I spoke Spanish, did you?
No.
All right, folks. We know that there's a lot of things that are going on here in this nation right now. We know there's a lot of different things that is challenging us, where some have just given up all hope in regarding the elections, knowing what the Biden administration is going to be bringing in, and they've already listed out all of the different things that they're immediately going to change on the first day of his inauguration, his first day in as president. But there's also the other side of it, where we have just a little bit of lingering hope as to think that maybe there's still a way through all of the being careful not to be banned off of YouTube or Facebook, all of the FRAUD that's been going on in multiple elections in multiple states, and the fact that here we are knowing that there's just a few blue counties in the entire nation that somehow that Biden actually did win the election, knowing that the rest of the country and all the counties that are red somehow could not get enough electoral college votes to put in President Trump. I don't know. It's kind of amazing. But this one, I got an article off of the Hal Turner report. And the reason why I'm bringing this out is because he's giving us some thoughts to be thinking about. And maybe there's still a constitutional remedy as to what's been going on, and to bypass what Congress has done, what the courts have done, what the Supreme Court has done, what state representatives have done, like the governors and the secretaries of states and all of the cover-ups that are going on, that perhaps if there's somebody with maybe some intestinal fortitude or to be able to stand up and make some decisions. So let's take a look at this. Maybe it's going to come down to maybe a military option. The military swore an oath to preserve and defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. So let's take a look at this. This is an article that says the Trump card, 14th Amendment, Section 3, or our entire way of life is over. So this is what it's talking about. It says the Trump card is apparently being played. It's not much simpler than you all realize. Some of you have gotten it right, but if not, then our entire way of life is over. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who have previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of the state legislature or as an executive judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Election fraud would be a serious felony under normal circumstances, but under an active state of war, it would be considered an act of treason. Think back regarding the Kavanaugh Supreme Court confirmation hearings. What are the requirements of a civilian to be tried for treason? We have been in a state of war since 2001. Pelosi and all other members of Congress are no longer members of Congress. They forfeited their rights and offices by committing an act of treason. Their treason was to vote to accept electors from states where brazen voting fraud took place, despite that fraud being brought to their official attention on January 6th. They gave aid and comfort to the people who stole the federal election. The judges at both the state and federal level who failed to refuse to hear cases or admit evidence concerning the election fraud, they're guilty of giving aid and comfort as well. They are no longer lawful members of Congress or judges of the courts, thanks to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. They are now considered enemies of the Republic who have aided a foreign power in stealing an election. When you committed an action of treason, you forfeit your rights as an American. You have no rights. So, military law versus civilian law. Any evidence is admissible in a military tribunal court. So Pelosi's stolen laptop, along with the other 11 stolen laptops, can be used in her military tribunal along with everything else Pelosi has done to lock her and the others away for good. History will show that Donald Trump tried every legal avenue to solve this crisis against our Constitution. It will show that all others failed to address this act of treason. He tried to resolve this peacefully. His only recourse left was to use the military, but it will be a lawful use of the military as these people have broken their oaths and committed treason and insurrection. President Donald J. Trump is legally required to act on this because of his own oath to the Constitution to protect our republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. The crimes on their indictments will read treason, sedition, and crimes against humanity. When the whole world finds out that they launched a virus to steal an election, the Great Awakening will begin. They seal their fates, checkmate, or our entire way of life is over. And I'm just going to read just a couple things here. If the president fails or refuses to faithfully execute the office of the president as he swore on a Bible to do and enforce the 14th Amendment, which is part of the highest law of our land, the Constitution, then the following is what we can expect. No fairy tale ending. The good guys won't win. Trump was not playing 5D chess. The military, National Guard are not there to protect him, and the fences are not built to keep the deep state captive. The military is not in control. The Insurrection Act was never declared or signed. There will be no arrests. There will be no emergency broadcast system alerts or videos of confessions and tribunals that stream to us for hours on end. There will be no Great Awakening. Hollywood will not be exposed. People will not be held accountable for their crimes against humanity. There will be no Federation of American or the United States Inc. Or there is no United States Inc. Trump will not be reelected through any process. Nothing glorious is going to happen on the 19th, on the 20th, or any time thereafter. So, anyway. That's the article I wanted to bring forth for our discussion this morning, because it's bringing into play something that seems to be quite simple. If someone will act on it, if the president will act on his constitutional oath, if they've exhausted all the other means, are there any officers, military generals, colonels, anybody else within our military, Air Force, Army, Marines, Space Force, Navy? Is there anybody out there that are going to uphold the Constitution of the United States and act on the 14th Amendment, considering the fact that we have been at war since 2001? So I want to bring back with us our co-hosts, Eddie and Tammy, and Mark. And I want to get y'all's thoughts. Let's go to Eddie and Tammy first. What are your thoughts about this article? Some of the things that are happening?
I go to one of my favorite prophets, Jeremiah. Jeremiah had so much to say about everything. He was he is a very key prophet from the prophets of the Tanakh. And in 46, I think it is, it says, a rumor will be heard in 1 year, and after that, another rumor will be heard, and then violence, Hamas, in the land, ruler against ruler. And no, I don't think any pre-generation could comprehend what Jeremiah was conveying there, except us and what we have witnessed these last 4 years. Because what did we hear in the first half of Trump's administration? The Russian hoax. In 1 year, there will be a rumor. And then it says in another year, what followed the false Russian hoax? It was the telephone call with the Ukrainian prime minister, which they twisted and turned and lied and skewed and just falsified blatantly, and brought these faux impeachment charges against our president. And so we've had a rumor in the first half of his administration. We've had another rumor in the second half of his administration. And just as surely as Jeremiah is a prophet of the Most High God, he says, then there will be Hamas, violence in the land, ruler against ruler. And precious saints of the Most High God, I submit that to you as a word from Hanavi, that this is what you and I are going to be facing in our country, because he's speaking about the end-time daughter of Babylon.
Well, we already have experienced violence in the land with the riots and stuff like that, and they want it to go even more.
Right.
They want it even more so.
And what I believe this week will bring forth with the incredible, no one has ever seen Washington locked down like we're witnessing now. You have a fighter squadron. Why in the world would you have a fighter F-16 squadron ordered to cover the area of Washington, D.C.? You have huge barbed wire fence. You have multiple Stryker vehicles. We've heard that there are Patriot missile batteries being positioned in Tennessee and in North Georgia. Okay, we've heard that there have been prepositioned the Chinese, what do you call those things? The container missiles. You know, we've all seen Costco container ships going up and down our highways. Well, they have perfected a container launched mobile launch system where they have 4 cruise missiles in each container. And so what I believe is going to be next is what Jeremiah prophesied about the daughter of Babylon 2,500 years ago. And that is, we're going to see real violence in the land, ruler against ruler. I pray I'm wrong. I would love to see that this fortification of DC is for the purpose of rounding up the bad guys, because the corruption is absolute. I've never seen anything like this in the courts, in the Congress. It's just horrible. There's no redress. I mean, they totally turn their backs against the American people and the Constitution. And if this does not happen, I do not see Trump remaining alive unless he was part of the whole program from the beginning. If he has been complicit bringing us to this point, that will remain to be seen. But as we're looking at it now, if Trump does not act, there will be no out for him. They will kill him and his family, as they're going to come after us. This is no joke. I wish I was joking. And this is what I see coming.
All right. All right. Yeah, Tammy.
You also have to remember what Revelation says. I don't remember which verse it is, but it says, we would have healed Babylon, but Babylon would not be healed.
18:4.
And if that's the case, if that's what we're really looking at, you better be ready to get your motor running.
And
we're
head out on the highway.
Out soon, very soon.
Yeah.
Bounce down.
Yeah, because Passover is coming up. Yeah, exactly. Here's something real quick before we go to Mark. And this was over at naturalnews.com. And it's the situation update for January 16th. And he says here there remain 3 options for Trump to remain in power and secure a second term. 1, D-class documents coming Monday may be a game changer. So we're looking for more D-class documents today. They released the Trump documents, or the Trump collusion, or the Russian collusion documents on Friday, and there was revealing stuff there. And then Insurrection Act can still be deployed, but it seems no one in the military is willing to follow these orders unless they're keeping it really secret, which is certainly possible. And then 3, the military itself may be carrying out a pro-America military coup to overthrow the deep state and save the republic. So these are just kind of, there you go, rumors. These are just thoughts. People are trying to think. People are trying to say, is there any last strings of hope to hang on to? But Mark, I want to bring you in. And before that, there are some photos over on the situation update for January 17th over at Natural News, and it actually gives some photos of those containers. Container.
There's a name.
Missiles.
Yeah, those launching systems. So you can actually go and see those, and these are made by China. But Mark, I'd like to hear from you, because this whole issue regarding the 14th Amendment is very interesting to me. And also, I want to hear from you because you had mentioned something in an email talking about a convention of states. And what that would do to and we're not talking about a convention state to rewrite the Constitution, but actually to deal with some specific issues. And so, Mark, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay. First of all, let me just say a shower thought might be that if the president has to use armed forces on Inauguration Day to guard himself from the people, maybe he wasn't actually elected by the people. Just a thought.
That's interesting. Okay.
Are you speaking of Biden?
Yeah. If you have to use armed forces to guard yourself against the people on Inauguration Day, maybe you weren't actually elected by the people.
Yes, absolutely.
Just a thought. Okay. Yes. Not going to refer to Article 14. I'm going to take it to a different situation. Article 14 says it outright. It's pretty explanatory, straight out. What if our Constitution that we have today actually made provision for exactly what's going on right now? And John, I'm getting feedback from you. I'm gonna mute you while. So what if the Constitution actually made provision for this? Now, last week on my show, Contemplating the Constitution, I did a news story, and now on that show, I'm now doing a section of that show called Our Constitution in the News, and I did cover the 14th that you were talking about, and so this week, and by the way, I'm moving my show Contemplating the Constitution from Wednesday morning to Monday night. So it's actually on 7:00 Eastern time tonight. And the first part of the show will be Our Constitution in the News. And what I'll be talking about is what John mentioned is actually Article 5 of our Constitution. And I want to read that real quick. It says, the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution. When ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses of the 9th section of this article, and that no state without consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the state. Article 5 contains two ways to amend the United States Constitution. Congress can propose amendments. That's where we got our 27 amendments, is from this article. Okay, that made provision. But the second part of it is, or states can call for a constitutional convention. And what that means is that as long as 2/3 of the states of the United States have figured that Congress is not doing what it's supposed to do, you can put forth and call forth a constitutional convention. And what that does is it actually takes everything that we already know, and let's take a look at it based on our time today and the things that have happened, the illegal things that have happened and been accepted. And what it does is it allows for us to, yes, actually rewrite the Constitution, or take the Constitution and make amendments to repair the things that have been done, and make their new amendments so these things cannot be done. So in other words, you would actually take, like your 14th Amendment, you would take Article 2, Section 1, Clause 9, or Clause 2, that talked about the Electoral College, and make sure the things that happened where they restructured things outside of the state legislatures, which are the only ones that have the right to do that, cannot happen for any reason whatsoever. They could actually even restructure the Electoral College and the way it all works and that kind of thing. You cannot do that with the Constitution that we have today. So you have to there's only been one constitutional convention. That's the one of 1787, which made the Constitution that we have today. There was the Confederate Constitution, which was together to make sure our states and our country came together, but then they held an actual constitutional convention. There's never been one held since then, but every state except for Hawaii, as it stands today, has asked for a constitutional convention. Every state. And the Congress won't give us one at all. Every state has recognized there are things wrong in the Congress and how they are doing things, and yet they can't get that ratified to do that. So once again, John mentioned a website you can go that is working. This website is absolutely amazing. Well, I'm sorry, I had it right here. Oh, conventionofstates.com. I'm going to put it in the text, and this will really explain it a whole lot more. Actually, the way it's in there, there's no O there. Let me do this again. It's because it's off my sheet that has okay, conventionsofstate.com. If you'll go there, there's a place to sign up. There's over 3 million members. 3 million members. And by the way, I will be talking about this tonight in more detail so that you can get the idea. There are Supreme Court judges that are for this. Mark Levine, Ben Shapiro, Senator Rand Paul, James O'Keefe, Sean Connery, Sarah Palin, James Dobson, and hundreds more of big name people agree with this and think this needs to be done. We need to have a constitutional convention and figure out what the hell's going wrong with everything that's going on. So you can sign up for this movement. You can get more information on it. When I found this, I was just blown away. Tonight on contemplating the Constitution for our Constitution in the news, I will be talking about this because this is going on right now. Right now, people, there are a lot of, and once again, 49 out of 50 states have already asked for this, and they're not getting it. And all you need is 2/3 of the states in the United States to make this happen. So why aren't we getting a constitutional convention? Sorry.
You're muted.
My question is, why do we shouldn't be waiting for Congress to give us permission? Because when you need a constitutional event,
I misspoke. It's not that Congress isn't making it happen. I misspoke on that when I said that. It's just that we can't, for some reason, those states that want this, they are scattered. They are not together. They are not in a place where they will get this together. And that's why this Convention of States website is together to try to get this together, to get somebody that will lead this off, put it together. So you got to have leaders. You got to have people that are going to hold this and what they're going to do. They have not organized it. So what we're doing, what is happening is hopefully this particular organization or a project, they call it a project, will put this together. I misspoke when I said Congress won't allow this. Congress has nothing to do with allowing it or not. It has to do with them organizing and putting it together.
Well, if it doesn't happen real quick, if things continue down the road, it won't happen at all, because I can tell you that if Biden and his people are in office, us coming together, especially people that aren't completely left, that aren't completely evil. I mean, they've already said that they want to wipe out all Trump supporters. They want to wipe out all Christians, all people of faith. They want to wipe out any vestige of us who carry the light of Yahweh within us and kill us. And so what remains is just scum.
Okay. First of all, it doesn't have to be the people from the House of Representatives and the Senate, the state representatives and the senators from the states don't have to do this.
Right.
It doesn't have to do this. This is so realistically, we just had a massive amount of people vote to impeach the president. So you would say, well, how are you going to get these people together to hold a convention of states? It doesn't have to be them. All it has to be is enough people from those 2/3 of the states to get together and say, let's do this.
Well, and I didn't think that it had to be them, but my thought is they will not allow I'm speaking congregation, people to come together at all.
So I know the
concern
concern is our First Amendment right to freedom to assemble
will
may be removed, and
because they would call us terrorists.
They would say that's insurrection, and something like that would go on. And now,
but John, it's a constitutional right. What are you talking about?
It's a constitutional right for us to have guns. It's a constitutional right for us to be able to speak and to show what we want. Does it matter if it's a constitutional right anymore? No.
No, it doesn't. But what I'm telling you is the Constitution wrote this into the Constitution, knowing that this could happen, knowing it could happen.
I think knowing it would happen, because if you look, our forefathers were not idiots. They knew the history of nations, and every nation has a decline. Right. Every nation brings in tyranny eventually. That's why they said, even in the Declaration, it is our duty to rise up and overthrow those that would do that. Just like when you've studied before on the Constitution, we should all have militias all over the place, and they should be allowed. But yet what they've done is, if you're a militia, you wipe them out. But yet constitutionally, we should have them ready. If the National Guard is all over in Washington, then we should have militias set up all over the United States to defend us. And
it's pulling it together. It literally, it's who's going to pull it together.
It's not, because when we've had militias, they go in and break them up and kill the people, jail them, or do whatever. The people in our nation, the leftists who seem to always, they don't want people coming together. They label them as white supremacists or terrorists or something like that. So militias have been destroyed or had to go underground because they try to get the people to think that they're illegal and they're all out to create terrorism, when in fact the terrorism is from those that are pulling the cords right now. So
we got to pull back that curtain. We're going to find out that wizard is not quite as big as we might think, too. I mean, we have to consider that. But there is something that in this, what they're talking about in the Convention of States, and all the way back to my U.S. history class back in high school, I remember that they were talking about having a convention of states. This was back in the
olden days?
Back in the olden days, in 1980, I believe, is when I took U.S. history. 1980, 1981, somewhere along there. And and my
Oh yeah, he was in Norway, guys. So I was like, we did that a lot more in the States, but he lived in Norway, the country. So that's what his problem
so my history teacher said, look, there's a danger to having a convention of states because they can take this Constitution and completely rewrite it and write out of it
the good stuff.
The good stuff. Our Bill
There are positives and negatives. If you look it up, you do the research. I did. Yeah. I've spent the past week researching this. There are a lot of different ways to look at this. So I'm just giving that option that's out there.
But on this, at the conventionofstates.com, it does mention here that they're specifically, they want to hit 3 different issues. And I think that's good. If you limit it to what they're going to talk about, these are really great ideas. And one is to propose a constitutional amendment that limits federal power, because think about all of the bureaucracies and all the stuff that's been created that trample upon our rights. And second, mandate fiscal responsibility. So, which means all of this stuff, like sending all this money that was overseas that was part of the COVID-19 relief fund. No. And they're sending it for gender studies and all this sort of stuff. No. We need to mandate fiscal responsibility and
we need to get our own country in line instead of doing that for the other countries.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then impose term limits on federal officials. And now listen, term limits on federal officials. So now we're not only talking about senators and representatives in Congress, but we're also talking about those people that are embedded within the bureaucracy that stay in there to continue a narrative and continue an agenda that transcends administrations.
Judge.
Are we talking down to the local level like what Mom does, though?
I think we're talking about those people in leadership.
Okay, because I wouldn't want that.
Those that have their those appointed people that find themselves, they stay in those positions, they stay in the government, they continue on, they carry out the agendas that they originally were brought on to do, and then they thumb their nose or their thumb or whatever to the president and say, well, we're just going to slow walk your administrative ideas and proposals, or we're just going to ignore them because we have a different agenda.
Bob says that's already in there. We've been corrupted and captured.
Yeah, and that's right, Bob. Yeah, really good point. Eddie, what are your thoughts?
I agree with what y'all are saying exactly. We have been, corrupted and captured. We do need term limits. There's a lot of things we can improve because of what we face. We've had 240 years of governance under the Constitution, and we've seen how the wicked have been able to come in and corrupt this thing,
take advantage there,
so that they can use it. Yeah. And you want godly people at a constitutional rewrite. You don't want Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Shifty Schiff. Those are
they don't want it. Right. They don't want new stuff in there. They want to use what they already have in the Constitution and manipulate it. Okay, what needs to be is not a rewrite. It's to take Article 5, which allows you to make it updated.
Yes,
updated based on what we have right now. We have Article 5 gives you the right to put amendments in the Constitution. There are 27 amendments. Then that's it. There has been no more. There isn't anything since the 27th Amendment. We now need to update that and base it on the rights of the people. Anyway, tonight on my show, Contemplating the Constitution, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be going into more detail on this. Thanks for talking about it, though, because I really appreciate the input. Yeah.
Well, this is extraordinary times that we're living in, and these are extraordinary things that we need to be educated on. That if we have the ability and we still have a voice, and we can still make that known in our nation to our senators, our representatives, even on the state level, even in our city level, we need to make these constitutional rights known. Tammy, did you have any other thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking that, one of the things that needs to be amended or fixed is these lifetime pensions to the congressmen that have been in there for 2 years or 4 years, and for the rest of their life they get, their diplomatic immunity and all of that stuff.
And medical and all
yeah.
that. And dental.
Yeah.
We deny the service members.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of one of the things that we covered on contemplating the Constitution that still blows me away. Every one of the House of Representatives and the senators, they make $240,000 a year. Every one of them. They make money outside that, but that is what they make individually.
Wow.
Each one of them, $240,000. But forget this. They don't, their whole job, their number one job, House of Representatives and Senators, their number one job is to vote. They don't even have to show up to vote.
It's free money.
There is a list on the government website. There is a list of your House of Representatives, your state representatives and senators, and how often they show up for work. Bernie Sanders is second from the top of people that have barely shown up. Like out of 117 times, he showed up twice.
Oh my!
And they make $240,000 a year salary. A year, not in their term, a year salary.
Yeah.
That is infuriating. Go
For the
ahead.
rest of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we all like to have the salary of the last job we had and carry it on for the rest of our life,
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right.
Much less, I want the 240. Man, if they get 240 for doing nothing,
Yeah, you show up
you know,
two
Trump-
days out of 117.
Trump set such a precedence. I'm not taking a salary.
Well, hey,
We
You know,
need
we
to
could-
change that.
we just need to print more fiat money. I mean, that right?
We got it.
There you go. And then we can all have it. Just dole it out. All right.
Tonight, contemplating the Constitution, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. Well, very good. I think that's some good discussion going on. Don't miss tonight's show. And what time is that going to be, Mark?
7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So 6 Central. Well, hey, let's move on to the Torah portion. And let's jump into that right now. And Eddie, what do you got for us?
Wait.
Hold on, let me give you.
Hallelujah.
All right. Get us out of here, huh? There we go.
Love y'all.
There we go.
I said when we were in the green room before the broadcast started that Abba had given me a song, and it is the title song of this Torah portion. And the title of the song is called Bo, and it was written, produced, and sung by congregation Adonai Ro'i, which means the Lord is my shepherd, out of Tel Aviv, Israel. And it's off their album Yehi Or, which means let there be light, which in today's Torah portion, the final plague before the killing of the firstborn is Yahweh's distinction between his people as people of light and a darkness that the Egyptians could feel. And I'm going to play the song. This is not meant for, it's not to violate copyright policies. It is meant for instructional and inspirational purposes only. And you can get this song off of CD Baby. You can look up Yehi Or, Hiohr. And when I first heard this song, and I'll say I was listening to the worship service of Congregation Melech Israel out of Ontario, Canada, and they played the latest in Messianic music. And I was laying on the floor, and they keyed this song up. I didn't stay on the floor long. I hope the sound is good, and I hope it blesses you. I hope you enjoy it, okay? This is Bo, and it's a Bo, Yeshua Bo.
Oops. Started another song.
My iPad doesn't work. Doesn't cooperate at times. But that song, when I first heard it, I was laying on the floor. I'll never forget it. And I didn't stay on the floor long. It's just got me up and got me going. And I can't, and Bo, Yeshua, Bo, come, Yeshua, come. And of course, this week's Torah portion is the great Torah portion, Bo, where our forefathers marched out of Mitzrayim. They left Ramses and went to Sukkot to get the bones, what's that? The Ashrei.
Mm-hmm. The bones of Joseph.
Yeah, the bones of Joseph. And
they haven't left yet. They've still got some.
No, they leave in this Torah portion, honey.
Okay.
They do leave. And we also have the incredible ordinance of Passover detailed, spelled out in this Torah portion. And there's so much that you can discuss. You don't have enough lifetimes to discuss this Torah portion. And it took this last plague, the killing of the firstborn, for Pharaoh to thrust the children of Israel out. And okay, Mama says keep my head up here. This is I like to point out this particular incident in chapter 11, verse 8, where this is Yeshua speaking with Moses. He's saying they're going, talking about them leaving. Verse 7, it says, a dog against none of the children of Israel shall a dog move its tongue against man or beast, that you may know that Yehovah does make a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And he said, this is so interesting. And he says, and all your servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, get out. Now, understand, this is Yeshua speaking in this verse. And he says, they'll say, get out, and all the people follow you. And after that, I will go out. Okay, speaking, they're going to come to Moses and say, Moses, get out. And it's so interesting that Yeshua says, and after that, I, Yeshua, will go out. That's incredible. This is, again, let's go back to Abraham real quick, the smoking lamp and the burning furnace. This is the smoking lamp talking to Moses. Amen. Here's that red scarlet thread going through these beautiful Torah portions. And he says, then he, and it should be a capitalized he, because this is Yeshua, then he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. And when I read that, I've midrashed this with my closest Aki Yehuda, my brother from Judah, and we both agree that Yeshua is angry because Pharaoh didn't repent. He could have spared himself and his people judgment if he'd have just repented and allowed them to go out freely. But he didn't do it. He hardened his heart and therefore sealed his own fate at the waters of Yam Suf. And so just note that in verse 8. Then he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. That's our Messiah. And he says, I'm going to be the last one out. I don't know if I haven't heard anyone mention this, but he was the last one out of Egypt. Baruch Hashem. Isn't that awesome?
When you look at where they stood on the shores of Nebueba,
mm-hmm.
and the pillar of fire moved between the children of Israel and Egypt, and then the children of Israel fled through the divided waters.
Right.
Then Yeshua was in that cloud. He was in that pillar.
It calls him Melech Yahweh. It says the angel of the Lord turned and moved behind, and then it says, and the cloud went with him. There's that smoking lamp and burning furnace, and he peeked through that cloud, and that's when he troubled the chariot wheels on Pharaoh's chariots, and they fell off, and they were just stuck in the mud.
Well, that's another thing. That's another miracle, because the children of Israel went over dry shod on dry land.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, when Pharaoh starts following into them afterwards, there's mud, and they get stuck in the mud. Man. So that's another miracle.
I'll tell you, we don't have enough lifetimes to discuss this Torah portion. I will mention in chapter 12. This is a phenomenal chapter, because this is where the boss resets Israel's calendar. Now, we've all got a wonderful calendar controversy. You've got Hillel's calendar, you've got various interpretations of the lunar-based calendar system. You have Enoch's ancient solar jubilee calendar system. But it's important to note in verse 2 of chapter 12, Yeshua spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Now, we all know that in Judaism, they celebrate the month of Tishrei as, quote, Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. And I want to submit that this came out of their Babylonian captivity. Okay, this is a product of that, because it is not the first of their year. The month of Aviv is the first of Yod He Vav He's year. Why is this important? And because it says twice in here, verse 19 and verse 15, it says in verse 15, 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. Now, this is something, y'all correct me or instruct me if I'm wrong in this. Okay, it says, for whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that person shall be cut off. And again in verse 19, for 7 days no leaven shall be found in your houses, since whoever eats what is leavened, that same person shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he is a ger, a stranger, or a native of the land. Do you know of any time in the history of Israel in which people, there have been those cut off because they have failed to eat unleavened bread in the days of unleavened bread? I know of no such time period in which people have died because they have failed to comply with this commandment, which tells me, if I'm understanding this correct, wow, Abba, I hear you, Abba. You got me distracted. But anyway, I believe there's coming a time in which, if we don't have this day set correctly, okay, and this is why I believe Hasatan has come in and created such a confusion about the calendar system. And I got to say, I was the last person. I did not want anything to do with calendar system. I was a new mooner, and I'd call up my rabbi Jeff Wise and say, Jeff, when are we going to meet? And he'd look on he went by the NASA new moon thing that his protege, I won't mention the brother's name, very brilliant young man, had found on how to determine the phases of the moon, and Jeff would tell me, and it has to deal with that picture I showed John and Sandy of the heavenly being in the ray of light. That he spoke to me. I believe it was him that spoke to me that Tuesday evening, and he kind of upset our apple cart and got her put on a different kind of calendar system. Y'all say, oh no, not another calendar system. But Anyway, the point being in this whole teaching for me, besides it being the incredible Huchat ordinances of the Passover, is the fact that it's the beginning of months, and it's so important for us to make sure that we guard. The word says, he says to keep, and in King Jimmy the word is keep, but it's actually shomer, which means guard. And those of us, my beloved and I, who have been career military, we absolutely know the difference between keep and guard. There's a huge difference. Guard is it's a life or death issue. Keep simply means, honey, hold my napkin for me. Keep my napkin for me. I'll blow my nose on it. You can throw it away. So
you can keep that yourself.
I can keep this myself. The guarding of the month of Aviv is critical. And this is, again, what I'm going to say about that when the two witnesses arrive, they will put us on the proper calendar system. And they will put us on the right thing, because there's coming a time where if we do not observe the days of unleavened bread in their set time, we'll be cut off from the house of Israel. And the same is true for Yom Kippur. That is a warning in the Torah. I know of no period in history where there's been a group of people cut off where they did not eat unleavened bread or did not shomer Yom Kippur, okay? So I throw that out as a thought, and seek Abba Father on the calendar system that you observe. The number one prime thing is we guard and keep the festivals from our heart. Amen. If we've got pure heart and clean hands, Abba sees that. And I believe that's an acceptable sacrifice in his sight. And of course, we go on to the end of the Torah portion, in which he reiterates the hukim, the ordinances of Passover, and that we're going to do this when we return to the land. Oh yeah, and there are two double dids in this Torah portion.
For those who have not heard about the double dids, you want to explain it real quick?
Well, it says in verse 50 of chapter 12, and honey, you put me on the spot because I didn't have it underlined, but thank you, Ruach HaKodesh, for showing it right here. And look at that. It's even emboldened. It's even the 50 is darker printed than the rest of them. Thus all B'nai Israel, the children of Israel, did as Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh commanded Moshe and Aharon. And here's a double did for you guys. So they did. Or I like to say, so did they. Why does the Torah repeat the dids? Because precious saints of the Most High God, there's coming a time for we're going to do the exact word, this second, and so did they. It's talking about us. Amen. And I hope I've gave you some good thoughts. I hope you like the song. You can get it off of CD Baby, and it's the album Yehi Or, and it's titled Bo Yeshua Bo. Baruch Hashem.
All right. Well, thank you, Eddie, for bringing that Torah portion today. It's brought us up to the top of the hour to where
oh Lord.
Yeah, it's the time really flies when we're having fun. We took a little bit of extra time there on our first segment there with the news article. And by the way, if y'all are listening and you didn't catch the first part of the show, you want to go back into it. One, to maybe laugh a little bit, and two, get caught up with these current events that we were talking about regarding the Constitution and what is up for our republic and what can we do. It is not a democracy, by the way. And but I'd like to have more discussion, but we are out of time today. So I want to say special thanks to Eddie and Tammy for being with us again, Sandy, and for Mark. And we want to stay tuned this evening at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central for the show that Mark will be hosting on the Constitution. And so with that said, I want to say thank you very much for everybody being us there that are in the chat room. Glad to see you. Until next time, shalom.
Shalom, my friend.
Shalom.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.